Morning, Trainiacs. We're just heading to testing day number 2, this fat oxidation testing, and the Plews is racking up a whole bunch of tests. It's number 2 of 3, and he actually laid out the 3 key things that we're looking to accomplish through this testing, and by the time we get to challenge Roth.
It's not as cold as I look like it is.
It's colder.
So when we start, or just before we start, I'll have you put that on. Same thing as before, we'll use RPE, so it's the same scale. Of course, if you feel any abnormal symptoms, grab the rails, get your feet off to the side, and stop the test. Other than that, we'll do the 1 kilometer every 4 minutes, which is about 0.6 miles per hour. And so where you think you were going to end was around 10, which is about 9. Actually, it'll be 9.9 miles per hour. So I will keep going, honestly, if you, but.
Try. I'll do my best. Alright, so Trainiacs, as we start doing more and more of this, there we go. Fat adaptation protocol. I'm starting to get a lot of comments about people saying, well, how practical is this? This is just for elite athletes, or elite athletes don't do this. Or fat adaptation doesn't work for everyone. Well, a lot of that is true, but I think there's a fair misconception about what we're trying to do here. Now, let's just do some simple math here for you and talk about what, from a fueling standpoint and just the requirements of what we are trying to do as triathletes, what fat oxidation accomplishes. I need my computer because Canadian math. So let's just use some simple numbers just for illustration purposes here. Let's say you're doing a 10-hour Ironman and burning 1,000 calories per hour. So over the course of that Ironman, you have a calorie requirement of 10,000 calories. In your muscles and your liver, you have stored glycogen before the race starts of 2,000 to 2,500 calories. So let's be generous and say that you have 2,500 calories. So starting the race, you have a calorie deficit of 7,500 calories. Now, our stomach only has the ability to absorb somewhere in between about 50 and 60 grams of carbohydrates every single hour. 1 gram of carbohydrates accounts for 4 calories. So each hour we can really intake fairly easily 240 calories. We are now making up 2,400 calories. but we still have a deficit of 5,100 calories. That's more than most very active days worth of calories. Now, an untrained, a non-fat adapted athlete can burn somewhere around about a half a gram of fat for fuel every single minute. Each gram of fat accounts for 9 calories. Now multiply that over the 10 hours that we're exercising, we are making up 2,700 additional calories. So add all that up. So we've got 7,600 calories for a 10,000 calorie expenditure kind of event. We have a shortfall of 2,400 calories. What does this end up resulting in? Well, it results in poor performance because you are missing basically an entire quarter of your energy requirements. When this starts happening, you start noticing muscle breakdown. When there are no more carbs or fat for the body to access, it starts eating away at your muscle. So that adds to the muscle breakdown, resulting in some of the muscle failures, functional failures that you see with people running across the finish line of Ironman, or well, actually everyone runs across the finish, but in the last 20 kilometers of Ironman. And you just do the math, you can see that 2,600 calories, 26% of the time, it's that last 26% of the 8-hour day, most of the marathon where things really start falling apart for most people. Now, is that because it's just a long day, or is that because you're out of fuel? Well, we know from talking to Matt Kerr, one of the athletes who worked with the Plews and Grant Schofield on getting himself fat adapted, we know that he was in 20th place for basically the entire length of the marathon, right up until the last 10 kilometers, when he just kept going at the same pace that he'd been going at, and the rest of the field just kept dropping back. He finished in 9:21, I think 8th overall, passing 12 athletes just in that last 10 kilometers. So let's look at the math about what happens with a more fat adapted athlete like Matt. We've got the same 10,000 calories that we're going to put out in the event. We have the same 2,500 calories that we can access in our muscle and our liver. We have the same 2,400 calories that we can intake with 60 grams of carbs every single hour. But a fat adapted athlete that is able to oxidize more fat can burn anywhere from 1 to 1.7 grams of carbs every single minute. Let's just say that Matt was able to burn 1.2 grams of carbs every single minute. I think that was actually the number that he got up to in just 10 weeks of training. At 9 calories per gram of fat, we are looking at an additional 6,480 calories that he has access to. So the total available energy in this case is now 11,380 calories, resulting in a surplus of 1,380 calories. That's why you start hearing these things where fat adapted athletes are bonk proof, or they have less gastrointestinal distress because they don't have to take on as many of those sugary calories, because they have so many calories in here that they can take the load off of their stomach, keep that blood in their extremities so that they can keep functioning well. Their muscle isn't going to break down. Their stomach isn't going to give them distress. They ideally aren't going to be slowing down, and they're just going to have a better race. I'm sure you're going to tell me in the comments if I got that math wrong. Blame the Canadian school system. So does this work for everyone? No, I've been saying that many times. Is this a very easy process, straightforward, just as far as lowering your carbohydrates, increasing your fat? No. That's why we're going through testing like we're doing right now. That's why we have put together that free program that is about the Getting Started with Low Carb, High Fat Adaptation series. And you can get that by going to triathlontaren.com/theplues. So that's totally free. You just put in your email address. I'm pushing it a lot because there's a lot of people with a lot of comments and a lot of questions about how to do this well. And that free series is like the building blocks to get you started on the right foot. So all right, Trainiacs, go check it out, triathlontaren.com/theplues. PD and Gracie say, what's up? Is dog food keto? Comments below. Later, Trainiacs.